the Jet. Where did you get that nickname, the Jet?
Actually, I was fighting at Madison Square Gardens, and Darnell Garcia, he's really back in the city, really a powerful warrior fighter, and he loved to see me do jump kicks. And so we were at the tournament in New York, and I'm on stage, and he's saying, "Come on, Benny, let me see you jump. Come on, jump. Come on, fly. Let me see you fly like a jet, fly." And then the audience kept on saying, "Jet, jet, jet." So I ended up doing jump spinning back kick, stopped my opponent with a jump spinning back kick, and from that point on, I became Benny the Jet.
Well, you have one of the best I've ever seen. Since I've seen a lot of your fights, it's amazing, the power and the speed and that snap. A snap in the air. Let me ask you, in kickboxing, who was your toughest opponent that you faced?
Let me put it this way. I trained hard for every one of them. I didn't take nobody for granted. And sometimes they say, "Oh, he was easy. You knocked him out in the first, second round." I said, in your eyes, it was easy. But what it took me to get to that point, because when somebody says, "Oh, you beat him easy, no problem," I ran harder. I trained harder just to make sure that would happen. So when somebody says, "Which one is your hardest fight?" And it didn't matter if I knocked him out early or late, because all it takes is one punch to turn the whole thing around. That's all it takes is one shot. So the energy and the love that I had a chance, because just remember one thing, without him, I can't do what I love doing. So when I jump on that scale and I see him, I said, "Thank you for showing up. Thank you because without you, I can't perform." So I was always happy to see my opponent, and not all the time my opponent showed up in the scale. And when he didn't, it's not like, "Oh, well, he didn't use this scale." No, I just say, "Hey, you know what? I had the victory in my mind, my heart, and my soul anyway. But because he didn't show up, I went the next day, I went to the gym, and I sparred with everybody just to get it out of my system, and then I would start all over again." To me, there is no emotion stuck. When I go and fight somebody, I don't fight with emotions. I go in there, my focus is doing what I love doing. And I'm so happy that I was able to be there and my opponent was there, that I can go out there and do what I love doing. So I don't look at it and who was harder, who was less. And I don't care how fast I beat this one or how late in the round I beat that one. To me, I train just as hard. I take nobody for granted.
So you're devoid of fear, anything when you're fighting when you go to that fight, right? You don't have no feeling. It's just
let me put it this way, Art. If I'm not afraid to die, what can they possibly do to me? Shoot me, stab me, what? I'm not afraid to die. So as far as me going into an opponent, it's an honor. If I was going to fight somebody to the death, it's an honor system to me. Because again, if I was going to go to that point, then I said, "You know what, we both understand what we're there for." And so there's an honor system between warriors. The only thing that I bring to that ring is a whole lot of love. I love the fact that I have an opportunity, because in that ring, I'm the people's choice. I go there and I fight for the people. I don't go there to fight for the win, draw, lose, or for the money or anything. I fight for the people. I go there, people come and pay good money, I'm going to give them a show. I don't care what the results is. I don't care what the outcome is. They will go away what they came for is a show.
It's a great attitude. It's amazing.
Back at it. Suzuki's going on the attack. Try to take the legs away from Benny if you can. Oh, good high round kick followed by. Benny's he's down. He's down. Benny hit him with several combinations. The mouthpiece is out. I don't know, Howard. I don't know if he can go on.
I would think in the United States they'd probably stop the fight here, but in Japan I would say no.
They're counting.
He's coming back in to fight again.
My gosh, you're right. Benny right back on him again. Combination lefts, rights to the head. He's down again, second time.
In the United States, definitely we'd stop the fight here. His corner is saying, get back in there, and I think he's saying, you get back in there.
He looks like he's had it. Should stop it.
No, they're
No, they're going to let him go on.
again.
Benny right on.
Back in
He
again.
knows he's got him on Dream Street. Look at that left.
Oh, he's not going to get him.
And I know that you do a lot of the Muay Thai. You know, tell us about, you know, share with your Muay Thai match. That's really you know.
To me, it didn't matter whether it's Muay Thai, Savate, American. To me, a fight is a fight. But you know, people or talk about you had a loss, and I said, I don't understand the question. He says, well, you lost the fight, and I said, well, what are you talking about? What fight are you talking about? He says, well, you fought against a Thai guy and you lost. I said, if I lost, I had the opportunity to come back and have a rematch. And if he beats me again, I said, he won me. As far as I'm concerned, what happens, and what nobody knows, that I was supposed to fight this one guy, didn't show up. So they paid me anyways, and my brother said, you want to do an exhibition bout? And I said, I'm here. So we went out there, no weigh-ins, no doctors, no nothing, just, hey, we're going to do an exhibition. We go in there, we do an exhibition, and next thing I know it, I turn around and they're holding this guy's hands up. I'm walking out, and I'm laughing. I'm laughing like, what the heck are they doing? So I'm walking away talking, you know, to my friend,
Sure.
and he's saying, what's that all about? And I said, hey, I got the money. I'm taking the money and run. So, I mean, and to this day, people still talk about that. And I thought, okay, you would say, okay, all that matters, I said, does it make you feel better that I lost? To me, it was an exhibition.
Right.
It was an exhibition, and I said, okay, they paid me anyway. So I said, yeah, I'll go out there and do it. And I just had fun. Okay? And I walked away. But when people, you know, that's funny though. People will say, hey, I don't care about your 205. I don't care about your knockouts. You won, you know, you defended your title that many times. You lost. And I said, oh, that make you feel good? Right. I said, okay, you know what? The good part is I bleed, I cry, I hurt just like you do.
Sure.
Is that okay? But they would, just the idea, they wouldn't think about or talk about anything else I've done.
Right.
All they talked about is they heard I lost. And I said, show me, you know? But and if I did, I said, I had the right to go back and fight him again and, you know, and be able, because there was no title, but it was an exhibition.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know? I said, so where do you get decisions and exhibitions? But yet to this day, they still talk about that just to say, yes, I bleed, yes.
Sensei Benny, we talked about your fighting, but now one of my favorite topics. One of the greatest fight scenes ever put on film is the scene from Meals on Wheels with Jackie Chan. Can you share with us some of that experience?
No, when I first, actually, Jackie was looking something different in the norm of what he's been doing, Hong Kong style of fighting. And he saw me fight the Japanese. And he wanted more real, so he got in his head, well, if I can get him in the film, it will be more real. So when they called me and said, would you like to do a movie with Jackie Chan? I said, who? He said, Jackie Chan, you want to do a movie with him? And I said, okay, sure. No idea who Jackie Chan was at the time, but so months go by, they set it all up. I go to Hong Kong, and so he has a team of 24 at the time. This and that, and he looks. You know, I go on set, and he's sizing me up and down, looking at me, and so I'm smiling like, okay. And so I said, "Are you Jackie Chan?" And So he turned around and told his interpreter, because he was learning how to speak English at the time. So he told his interpreter, and so his interpreter says, yes, he is, and what he would like to see you do is, if you don't mind, kick the bag. He wanted to see, so one of the stunt guys hold on the power show, and I said, does he want me to kick it hard? And he said yes. I spin back kick. I kicked this guy so hard, he went flying. He got right to the power show, and then Jackie looks at me and goes, gives me thumbs up, and so then he says he did something. I can't remember what exactly he did, and then he points to me like, now you. So I mimic him. I did the same thing, and he looked at me and he goes, there was a hallway probably 3 feet wide. He does round up, flip flop, all the way to the end, and he looks at me and goes, and I said, okay. So I did round, and then by the time I got halfway through it, I crashed into the walls. Man, I'm all this. And I looked, turned to him, I said, I'm not a gymnast, you know. And he looks at me and he goes like, okay, you know. So then he said, okay. He told his interpreter to tell me that what we're going to do is, are you going to choreograph your own fight? And I said, yeah. I said, you do something and show me. So we ended up in Spain. We went to Spain. And his whole team, so on the script, I'm looking at the script of the story, but I'm not sure what's going on with it. And so the team got together, and Jackie said he's going to do this, and this. And then his team did it. So I watched them. And so Jackie goes, okay, your turn. So I saw what they were doing, so I went out there and I said, okay, you do this and this, I'm going to do this. I went this, and that's how we started choreographing. So he would do something, his team would get together, put something together, and he would tell me, okay, your turn, what are you going to do? And I would say, okay, I'll do this, and this. And through all Spain, we were fighting, and then one day, it was I think 2 weeks into it, he looks at me and he says, he tells the interpreter, I want to fight you. And the interpreter says, Jackie said he wants to fight you. And I said, for real? And so he told Jackie, and Jackie goes, and I said, and I looked at him, I said, now? And he goes, later. And I said, I told his, I said, anytime you want, let me know. Eh? But I said, I just want you to know, I fight professionally. That's what I do for a living. So, and he gives me thumbs up. So now we have all the Chinese betting who's going to win. And I'm thinking, no, he's not. Is he really good? So a week goes by and I tell him, when are we going to fight? And he goes, soon. And I said, okay. And now but he had everybody so hyped up. He had me hyped, and when he had these golf gloves on, and he hit me, boom. And man, I said, oh, okay, I see. Is that the way it is? And so all of a sudden, then he kicked me in the leg, boom, hit me in the body, boom, with these gloves on. I said, all right. So I went out there and I kicked him hard. I went, boom, he dropped, like dropped his weight. And all the stunt guys were getting mad at me. They're getting all pissed off at me. I said, he's the one that started, man. He's hitting me hard. And nobody's saying nothing to him, but yet. So I knew in my head, okay, I can hit his neck, from his neck down, I can hit him hard. But and I'm not going to hit him in the face, So we did a technique. He was supposed to go this way and go that way. He made a mistake. And I went like this, and he moved right into my hand. I stopped 2 inches from his face, and he looked at me and he goes, and because I was bare knuckled. Right. And I stopped right in his face. So he knew I had good control. And he knew I was going to hit his face. Oh. But you know what? Through that whole time, we kicked the crap out of each other, man. And then they were getting mad at me because I was hitting them too hard. So Jackie was telling the instructor to tell him, no problem, hit hard. And then he put up his shirt and says, I got pads on, no problem. You can kick hard. Boom, I kicked him. He dropped. And you know what I loved about him? He got back up and said, you know, he didn't mind. I said, okay, but I knew I won't go to his face, but to the leg, to the body, I said, when I threw him, I threw him. When I kicked him, but he had no problem hitting me in the face. And every time he hit me, I had to put ice on my face because it was swollen. So I had to put ice on it so it doesn't look swollen. And then we had 6 weeks. We came back and we went to Hong Kong. And so I told him, I said, when are we going to fight? You know? And then 3 weeks when the film is going to be over with, I looked at him one day, I looked at him, I said, you're not going to fight me. And he smiled and goes, but he had everybody so pumped up.
Really?
I mean, he had everybody so pumped up that he actually, I mean, he wasn't going to, but you know what? I always notice he sits and he's a thinker. He'll sit and he'll be thinking. Like, for instance, you know, the craft. You know, he'll be looking at the table and and you can see his brain going. He's sitting by himself, just looking at the table. The next day, you should see the craft table. Look Americanized.
Really?
Yeah, but before it was just a table with some goodies and some drinks. But I was watching him like, I wonder what he's thinking about. And nobody touches him. He just sits there and looks. He's thinking, and then. Because I was thinking, what is he thinking about? Is he thinking about the fight? Is he thinking about where he wants to go with it? And the next day, that craft table was beautiful. It looked Americanized. And it was, I said, that's what he was thinking about. But you know what? That's the Meals on Wheels. It was the fight scene. He wanted, because you know what we did is we went in the castle. And I was looking, what props can I use? What can I use? In other words, without making a prop, I looked at the stairs, I looked at the window, I looked at the ridge, I said, okay, I see what's in here. So I was thinking, what can I use here?
Sure.
And he will come in with his team. And his team, you can see his team rolling over, doing things, this and this and this.
Sure.
So they already talked about it,
Sure.
you know, and some jumping off the walls and some doing this and that. And I'm thinking, okay, so I'm getting an idea of what they want to do.
Right.
But I already went in there to see what I can actually use for myself. What can I use against him?
Wow.
And so he was already with his team already going through it. Myself, I was already making my notes in my head where I want to take it.
Sure.
So he would show me his team, what he's going to start off with, and then he would always say, now your turn. And then I would say, okay, you do like this, but bring it over here, and I'm going to do this, bang, bang, throw you this way, and he goes, okay. And then they did this, and then they used the stairs, and then that's how we fought through the whole castle. We just looked at it and said, what can we use without attaching, you know, looking like a fairy, you know, attaching wires, and, you know, like, and I said, I want it natural as possible, and he wanted real.
Nice.
And so his interpreter said he wants this movie right from the get-go. He said he wants it different than anything out there. And I told him, hey, I know the streets. I understand. I come from the streets. I understand the streets. I said, I'll bring that to the table. And I did. I brought the streets to the table, and he brought.
Yes.
And he loved it. He didn't care, but everybody was getting back because I was knocking his wind out, this and that. But he didn't care.
No, it was amazing, and that's what made it so amazing. That it was so real. There was no misses.
I come from a family. There's 9 black belts in my family. My mother, my mother was very internal. very spiritual, and because of that, she used to tell me about internal power, internal, strength, and I never understood that. I never really understood that, but she used to tell me certain things that she always kept me thinking, what did she mean by that? What was that going at? I didn't understand that. And I realized the only time I started to realize what she was telling me, and because she is my hero, she told me things about internal training that I didn't understand until in '64. Bruce Lee came, and this was at the Internationals. And I was about 4 feet from him, 5 feet from him, and so I would say, he would talk, and he would do it. He was the first time he ever did a demonstration at the Nationals, and he had this one guy about 250 pounds holding, a lifting plate on his chest, and he's standing there in a cover position, holding it real strong, and 4 feet behind him he had a chair. So Bruce had his fingers on it, and he's talking about this internal power. And every time he said internal, I got closer. I got closer. And the closer I got, because I started to recognize my mom said that. But I didn't understand my mom at the time. So he talked about generating this internal power, bringing it forward. And then he made this, that's the first time I ever heard something like that. And I got up, I was cross, and I stood straight up, and he hit this guy from 4 feet, just hit this plate. This guy went back, hit the chair, went over. I jumped up. I want to do that. That was the first thing that I've ever seen about understanding what my mom was telling me. I had a chance to see it. And to me, I got up just to see how tall he was, how big, because to generate that kind of power and hit this guy with a metal plate,
Sure.
And from there, I started to recognize that's when I started to really tap into what my mom was telling me about. I would always say, you talk about internal power. Where does it come from? How do we get it? Where do we, and this is so. She was my hero to begin with, but she was the one that really opened up my eyes. Then I started to recognize what that's when I started to really tap into what my mom was telling me about. I would always say, you talk about internal power. Where does it come from? How do we get it? Where do we, and this is so. She was my hero to begin with, but she was the one that really opened up my eyes. I had some great teachers, and I can go on from Mr. Park and on, but
sure.
He was more philosophical, really, and he used to tell me all kinds of deep stuff, and I used to listen to it. I said, Mr. Parker, I don't understand that. This is what you said, but I don't understand what you mean by that. And I'm gonna give you the perfect example.
Mm-hmm.
This was in. We was at the Nationals.
Right.
I think this was in '67 or somewhere around there. And my wife was my girlfriend at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I introduced Mr. Parker to Sarah, my wife.
Right, yeah.
And so he is, this one's a keeper. And I said, what? He said, this one's a keeper. And I said, okay, he's telling me a trick question here, man. What does that mean? So after the Nationals, now we get back to the dojo in Santa Monica, and I said, Mr. Parker, you remember when you told me at the Nationals, this one's the keeper, my girlfriend Sarah? He says, yeah, a keeper. In other words, keeper. and I said, I thought that was so right. Yeah, I thought he was going to give me some secret. But this is, my first instructor was Sensei Birozaki.
Yes.
But
yes.
you got to understand, I've had some great teachers in my life.
Sure.
From my father being a professional boxer, I was boxing when kids had fire trucks. At 3, I was boxing gloves, right?
Right.
So I was boxing, and then I started judo in '60. So
Right.
I had a great teacher in judo, and then and then Birozaki, and then Mr. Park, and I went from a hard style to soft style, hard style to soft style,
Right.
And so, when you ask me about, because this whole world needs heroes. I mean, we look at heroes and say, ooh, I want to look like that. I want to sound like that. Just like when I looked at Bruce, I said, ooh, I want to sound like that. I want to do that.
Sure, sure.
And so, they become heroes. But we all really look for mentors. Because mentors mirror your truth, mirror you. Okay? They mirror you. See, so when we, and mentors, there's a lot of mentors, but they're spread out. And so we don't really look for mentors, we look for heroes. And heroes is because it's what we want to, everybody, most people are visuals. Ooh, I like that. And then automatically they get close to it because they like what they see or they like what they're hearing. And so those are heroes that inspire us,
Yes,
make us want to do certain things.
Sure, sure.
Right?
Absolutely.
And so, but to find a mentor talks about you, turns you inside out, mirrors your truth. And so the mentors is the ones that we not looking for, but when they show up, you hang on to them because they talk about you, not about generally of people.
Sure.
Everybody, heroes talk about you. Oh, you have to look at that one and that one and that one and that one and see. I said, but a mentor will say, no, listen to you. Let me turn you inside out. Let's take a look at you. Your truth, okay? And the truth sometimes is painful because sometimes we don't want to see it.
Yes.
We don't want to hear it. We don't want to believe it.
Right.
And that's what mentors do. They mirror your truth. And sometimes, my mother is the one that she mirrored my truth, constantly.
Right.
So she was not only a mentor, my hero. This decade of kids, especially Latinos and so forth, there's a lot of them come from single-parent kids. They live with their mothers only.
Sure.
And some, their mothers pass away and they're just with their father. And some come from broken homes, and some come from, high-risk kids. So a lot of Latinos at this time, what happens is, the word, a lot of them, especially if they're out in the street a lot, their words coming out of their mouth is, I'll be lucky if I make it past 18. I hear this all the time, that I won't make it past 18. I say, you know what? You're absolutely right. You won't make it past, and they look at me like, what? And I said, you won't make it past 18 because you're already predestining your life right now by what you're saying. Your words are very powerful. And every time you say, I won't make it past 18, you're actually, something's going to happen by you saying it, that you're going to create something to make that exactly happen. So the kids, especially the Latinos, because it's programming and how they've been taught. And if my father, you want something to cry about, and this, that, or
Right.
I would ask my father something, and he said, "You questioning me?" And their son, I was asking because I didn't know, but back then in those days, man, it was you were being, you were like questioning them,
Right.
and I said, I was just curious to know.
Sure.
But things changed because back then, a lot of times you didn't question. You only did what they said, and that was it.
That's it. Yeah.
Right? But so it's programming. It's how you've been programmed.
Sure.
And a lot of these kids, from the biblical days, it's always been, you want to control them, put fear in them. Okay? And that's how you control multi people. Well, even in the media and everything else, sometimes they put something, scary. Ooh, the boogeyman, and everybody is, did you hear it? It's like phone tag. Don't do that. Did you hear that? And so they spook everybody out. Well, these kids are being spooked by a lot of things, by being programmed by their first teachers, which is usually their parents. Or some of them don't have parents, and they have foster parents, or some of them are living with their aunt, uncles, cousin, whoever, because of whatever reason. So a lot of these kids right now are looking for hope. A lot of them really want just to be loved.
Sure.
A lot of them, and a lot of them are not loved. And what they interpret love is, do that.
Correct.
And so somebody else does that, they say, oh, you must love me, because they're used to being interpret that kind of love, physical. And not all Latinos, man, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, you know what? I'm just saying, just the ones that are in the street a lot, and the ones that come from single parents, kids, because I'm tell you what, there are a lot of bright Latinas and Latinos. These kids, man, there's a lot of, they're sharp, they're bright, but the ones that are coming from single parents and in the street a lot, they're the ones that are hungry to be part of something. And, and sometimes like anything else, love is not for free. To say the word, I love you, is one thing, but to show the action, I love you, is another.
Sure.
And these kids are looking. They're looking for that love. They're looking to be loved, that I can say, hey, I'm worthy. I'm worthy of that love. I'm worthy of the freedom. I'm worthy of being something.
Sure.
Because a lot of times they say, who do you think you are? You're nobody. You're nothing. You're stupid. You're lying. And pretty soon they start to believe that. And then a lot of the ones that are very blessed and fortunate, that their parents are always saying, you're special. You're going to be something great. You're going to do something good in this world.
Sure.
You're going to make something out of yourself. You're going to change, the world by your presence of energy and so forth. And that's what we need to teach the Latino kids, and not just the Latino kids,
everybody,
all kids.
But
at this, but since you're talking about Latino kids, sometimes what happens is they're lacking that love, and it's almost like, who am I?
Yeah.
I'm nobody. I'm nothing. and it's almost like they're treating me like if I'm the lowest of people, but you know what? There's no truth to any of it. There's no truth to any of it. Okay? Look at us. But the point I'm making is, we can, somebody had told me that I was talking to a group of Latina girls, and they were saying, well, this is the way life is, and we're not going to, I said, listen, be careful what you're saying. Hey, your words are powerful.
Right.
You can be anything if you believe. The problem is, you don't believe in yourself, and whatever people have been telling you that wasn't good, you're starting to believe that. And you know what? You can be anything and do anything you want as long as you believe it. The I am concept of what you tell yourself is important. When you get up in the morning, if you're the one that gets up in the morning and says, oh man, how am I going to get through this day? Oh man, it's going to be a hard day. Instead of getting up and saying, man, I'm so blessed I have this day to do the things I love doing, be with people I love being with. I have another day to understand who I am and my journey. And this is the message we should pass on to these young kids. That, hey, you are worthy. You are worthy of all the love, all the financial freedom, whatever it may be, you're worthy of every bit of it. And this is the message. Yes. that I'm sending and passing on to these young kids or this generation today.